Hey, what is up, everybody? I'm here to give you another Read Aloud series for a rich look at the WWE Championship history, whatever it's called. I really don't remember now. It's in the title, though. I'll make sure to put it in there. Now I'm going to be reading chapter 20. If you want to check out my chapters 1 through 9, Read Aloud series, click on this playlist right here, if I remember to put it there. This chapter was called Attitude Era. Let me just get right into it. For years, fans presumed that Vince McMahon was nothing more than a talking head hired by WWE to describe the in-ring action each week on television. Only those close to the sports entertainment industry actually knew of his true role as WWE owner. But as 1997 started to wind down, McMahon felt forced to pull back the curtain when he became threatened by the rising popularity of one crass superstar. In an attempt to prevent his company's good reputation from being soiled by a single man's disrespectful antics, he revealed his powerful position and battling this superstar in a very public forum. That superstar was Stone Cold Steve Austin. Austin arrived in WWE in January 1996 after being fired by WCW and a short stint with ECW. He debuted as the Ringmaster, Ted DiBiase's hand-picked $1 million champion. As DiBiase's supposed prize pupil, Austin had little success turning fans' heads, and by mid-year he had dropped the goofy Ringmaster moniker completely in favor of Stone Cold. With the new name came a new attitude. Over the next several months, the sight of Austin swilling beers and waving his middle fingers in the air became commonplace. He also developed a genuine disrespect for authority. If he was told by a WWE official to do something he objected to, he simply dropped that person with a stone cold stunner. Normally, McMahon, who began to demand he be referred to as only Mr. McMahon, could have simply punished Austin by preventing him from competing. But in January 1998, Austin outlasted The Rock to win the Royal Rumble, which guaranteed him a WWE Championship match and the main event at the biggest show of the year, WrestleMania 14. This left McMahon with only one option: try to calm the beast. Unfortunately for the boss, his attempts to soothe Austin's buck the system attitude proved futile. Each demand McMahon made was met with either another middle finger or worse, a stunner. Never before in the history of sports entertainment had such a blatant disrespect for authority been played out in front of the television cameras, and it wasn't long before thrones of new WWE fans began to tune in to Raw to live vicariously through the boss beating superstar. The innovative rivalry truly revolutionized the game and laid the foundation for what is referred to today as the Attitude Era. And this is a picture of it doesn't say what it is, but it's Stone Cold Steve Austin and Vince McMahon doing one of the confrontations. That's actually one of the most famous ones because that was the first time Stone Cold Steve Austin had ever stunned Vince McMahon. I always look forward to Monday nights because we really seem to have the whole world's attention with Flex Austin. But let's be realistic about it. The Attitude Era should have been called the Stone Cold Era. I was the driving force during that period. I always took a little bit of offense to the term Attitude Era because in my mind, wrestlers should always have attitude. If you don't, you're not going to be very successful. Of course, I was a different cup of tea with the select words. I used and muse and middle fingers. That was tough to read, but you get the idea. And here's another picture of Stone Cold Steve Austin knock Shawn Michaels to the floor. I know I haven't gotten to that part yet, but I'm just going to read that now. With legions of new viewers behind him, Austin challenged Shawn Michaels for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 14. At the time, HBK was nearly 5 months into his third title reign. Despite his success, he admitted he was not in the greatest frame of mind, both personally and professionally, during this time period. It was real difficult to work with Michaels, claimed Austin. He was like that caterer's Ferrara. When he's ready to go, he can go like nobody else. But he didn't want to go. There were a million reasons why he wouldn't. He did have some backup. He did have some back problems, but he also had a lot of attitude problems and personal problems as well, which I talked about in the last video. Michaels was in fact suffering from a back injury that eventually cost him 4 years of his in-ring career. He did everything in his power to conceal the severity of his condition, but there was no fooling the fans on this night. The pain of his face told the true story of a proud superstar struggling just to stand erect. According to WWE match coordinator Jim Ross, the entire contest was a true testament to HBK's unmatched fortitude. Despite the pain, Michaels appeared on the verge of victory, but as he went for sweet chin music, Stone Cold managed to counter and connect with his patented stunner. Special enforcer Iron Mike Tyson, who assumed the role of referee after the match, after the official was knocked out, ran into the ring and made the 3 count. "Stone Cold! Stone Cold! Stone Cold!" screamed Jim Ross during his now famous post-match call. "The Austin era has begun!" And that's kind of when you really knew the Attitude Era would happen. Like I said, it was kind of already coming anyways. I feel like the real start of the Attitude Era, always in my opinion, will be the Montreal Screwjob. Just my personal opinion. And Stone Cold Steve Austin, too, had done other things before he became WWE Champion. You know, they didn't really mention, but he ended up winning the 1996 King of the Ring, where he dropped his most famous promo ever, where he said, "Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass." And that would be another famous Stone Cold moment. I kind of don't really like the fact that they didn't include that in here. But yeah, then everything else was pretty much right on point. Stone Cold quickly, and obviously they didn't really talk about the moment where Stone Cold and Mike Tyson had that epic brawl, face-to-face confrontation. And, you know, Shawn Michaels at the time was the leader of D-Generation X. Yeah, he was the leader of D-Generation X, and Iron Mike Tyson joined that group. And then eventually afterwards, Mike Tyson knocked out Shawn Michaels, which I think, yeah. But Stone Cold quickly grabbed his title and began to celebrate with the ruckus Fleet Center crowd in Boston. As he ascended to the second turnbuckle, he couldn't help but feel validated. That night, standing there with the belt in the air, for me was a giant screw you to the people in WCW and Eric Bischoff, guy who actually fired me because he didn't know what to do with me and didn't think I was marketable. I always knew I could succeed. I'll always bet on myself. I'll never forget that match and the first time I became WWE Champion. Ironically, the match loser HBK also found reasons to celebrate. Losing that match was such a relief. It was the best for me and the company. I would have exploded otherwise, claims Michaels regarding the physical and mental stresses he was under. From that point on, the company enjoyed tremendous success, and so did I. And that ended up being Shawn Michaels' last match for WWE for about 4 years. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. At least that's what Mr. McMahon was thinking following WrestleMania. Fearing an uncontrolled Stone Cold reign would result in a public relations nightmare for WWE. McMahon actually tried to join forces with the new champ. The owner claimed that with his business prowess and Austin's physical talent, Stone Cold would become the greatest WWE champion of all time. In reality, McMahon was simply trying to get closer to Austin so he could control his behavior. Austin instantly spotted McMahon's insincerity, and rather than join forces with the scheming boss, he dropped him with a stunner. The assault finally opened McMahon's eyes to the fact that he was never going to chain the Texas Rattlesnake. So he had his champ arrested and began to plot Plan C. Mr. McMahon combed his roster looking for the perfect superstar to take down Austin. He needed a man with superior in-ring ability and just enough naviate to realize he was being taken advantage of the boss. McMahon chose Dude Love, one of Mick Foley's many alter egos. Over the next several months, McMahon stacked the deck heavily in Dude Love's favor, but Austin managed to overcome the odds each time to retain the title, including matches at Unforgiven and Over the Edge. Realizing he was getting nowhere fast, McMahon traded Dude Love for Kane and declared a first blood match between Stone Cold and the Big Red Machine at King of the Ring. During this time period, Kane was covered from head to toe in ring gear, including a thick mask that covered his face. This made Austin's job considerably harder. Further exasperating the issue for Stone Cold was his rough road to the King of the Ring, one that was paid with an unsuspected stay in the hospital. I wrestled Mick Foley in the Houston Summit several days before King of the Ring, remembers Austin. After the match, I couldn't stop shivering. I had 104-degree fever. It turned out I had a staph infection in my elbow. So I was in the hospital for 5 days, hooked up to IVs and getting the infection fixed. When I finally got out of the hospital bed, I had to go to King of the Ring and go up against a physical specimen like Kane with my arm all taped up. It was difficult. So that explains why his arm was taped up during that match. But he did it. From the beginning of the match, it was clear that Austin's game plan was to keep the action inside the ring and away from the numerous metal objects traditionally found on the outside. The plan worked well early on, but when the Hell in a Cell cage that was used earlier in the evening began to mysteriously make its way down to the ring, things began to look bleak for the champ. Hoping to draw blood, Kane repeatedly rammed the champ's skull into the steel. Miraculously, though, Austin failed to shed an ounce of blood. Watching from the back, Mankind, who had failed to defeat Austin at the prior two pay-per-views, as do Love, decided to take matters into his own hands. Armed with a steel chair, Foley made his way toward the ring with ill intentions. Little did he know, though, he was not alone. Following closely behind him was a chair-wielded Undertaker. Once the dead man hit the ring, he cocked his chair and swung it at Foley, but his target ducked, resulted in Stone Cold becoming the unintentional recipient. The impact of the blow created a bloody gash on Austin's head. Crimson steamed down his face, and the referee called for the bell. Stone Cold's red-hot reign had come to a shocking end. And this is a picture of Kane as the WWE champion with his manager Paul Bearer inside. Instead of wallowing in the loss, Austin set his sights on getting back what he rightfully thought was his, and just 24 hours later, after King of the Ring, toppled Kane on Raw to reclaim the WWE Championship, which was kind of stupid that they only had Kane hold the WWE Championship for one day. I always think that was stupid. The victory infiltrated Mr. McMahon, who he thought he had successfully foiled his rival. Unfortunately for him, though, he failed, and this time, Austin planned on being even more rebellious, starting with thrashing the traditional WWE Championship in favor of a more attitudinal version known as the Smoke and Skull belt. I have to give credit for that idea to the Road Warriors. Mike and Joe, who are known as Hawk and Animal, admits Austin. They came up to me and said somebody like Stone Cold should have his own belt. I think it really tied in with the attitude of my WWE Championship run, and damn, we sold millions of those damn things. Austin's second reign picked up where his first left off. Over the next 3 months, he continued to succeed in the ring and draw huge ratings, and all the while infiltrating his boss. Finally, in September 1998, with hopes of destroying Stone Cold once and for all, McMahon assembled sports entertainment's most awesome force, Undertaker and Kane. The pairing proved to be a stroke of genius, as the destructive duo was able to take the title from Austin in a triple threat match at Breakdown, but not without controversy. And the contest closed in seconds. Undertaker and Kane hit Stone Cold with a double chokeslam, but then proceeded to cover the champ. While the referee counted to 3, the bell rang, signifying the end of Austin's reign, but because both superstars had made the cover, it wasn't clear which had won. Something that it doesn't say is why they both pinned Austin is because a rule in that match was Undertaker and Kane weren't allowed to pin each other, so that's why that had happened. Several seconds went by without an official word. Finally, ring announcer Howard Finkel began to speak. I'll try to do his voice. The winner of this bout and new World Wrestling Federation champion. Silence. Much like in the 1994 Royal Rumble, Finkel didn't know how to finish this sentence. Was it Undertaker or Kane? Tired of the confusion, Mr. McMahon marched to the ring, grabbed the title, and stormed off. The following night on Raw, a proud McMahon stood in the ring, prepared to present the gold to either Undertaker or Kane. But before he could officially name a new champion, Austin charged through the arena on a Zamboni, knocking over thousands of dollars of production equipment in the process. Once he hit the ring, the former champ drove the Zamboni's herd directly onto Mr. McMahon. The interruption effectively ended the title presentation ceremony and also sent Stone Cold straight to jail. Putting Austin in the slammer wasn't enough for McMahon. The evil owner also wished to humiliate his nemesis like never before. To accomplish this, he forced Stone Cold to officiate a WWE Championship match between Undertaker and Kane at Judgment Day. At the end of the contest, Austin would have no choice but to present what he believed was his title to the winner. To ensure the former champ would go through with the humiliating act, McMahon guaranteed he would fire Stone Cold if he failed to do as he was told. When Judgment Day rolled into the Rosemont Horizon on October 18, 1998, many fans assumed Austin wouldn't show. They thought he had too much dignity to present another superstar with his title. Those fans were wrong, partially. To present another superstar, Stone Cold did in fact show up to officiate the match that night, but his idea of being a referee was a bit different than the norm. After Undertaker smacked Kane with a steel chair, Austin took it upon himself to also get involved in the action. He gave Undertaker a stunner, followed by a chair shot to the head. With both Undertaker and Kane down on the mat, Stone Cold dropped to his knees and counted all four shoulders down. After the bell rang, Austin got on the microphone and announced himself as the winner of the match. It wasn't at all what McMahon had hoped for when he devised his devious plan. Irate, he screamed at Austin from a secure box behind the Titantron, but it was nearly impossible to hear a single word over the chants of "a-hole" from the Rosemont crowd. They eventually quieted long enough for the boss to get his message out. "Stone Cold, screw you, you're fired." Trying to say it like Vince McMahon. Overnight, thousands of fans sent letters of protest to WWE headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut. The message was simple: if there was no Steve Austin in WWE, they would not watch. Luckily for them, Stone Cold wouldn't be gone for long. Mr. McMahon's son, Shane McMahon, inked Austin to a new multi-year deal shortly after SummerSlam. And that's the end of that. That's the end of chapter 20. Obviously, the WWF was a huge success at this time. I think wrestling was really interesting. You had WWF that was really hard at this time. WC with the whole Austin McMahon feud, and it was just a really hot period of time of wrestling. You had WCW that was on top with the whole NWO fiasco. Sting had just come out as the Crow Sting. You had Bret Hart was in WCW and they hadn't fucked up completely with him yet. You had ECW that was doing some good stuff too. So wrestling was probably at its hottest point in 1998. You could make the argument. You know, Austin was a very successful babyface. It became cool to be a wrestling fan because everybody wanted to know what was going to happen next, and it was awesome. But yeah, that's pretty much it. There's more to this book, though, because the next chapter talks about what happened. Because technically there was no WWE champion, so you're going to have to tune into my next Read Aloud series. But that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys for watching this. Please make sure to subscribe to my CM Brothers and Owen the Talkinator channel for more content there. Make sure to subscribe to this channel for more content. That's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.